Today, I want to give you guys my unfiltered and transparent opinion on Bitcoin and altcoins and why I will be buying Bitcoin every day for the rest of my life. Welcome back to the Crypto Report. I'm Black I have another video for you guys. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel right now. Let's get into this video. All right, guys, so first things first, over on Crypto Twitter, you can follow me, 333BlackC. I say, I have officially reached the point of buying Bitcoin every day, regardless of price. The redder it gets, the more I will buy. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up at a time like this, and I'm focusing in on Bitcoin today, is because altcoins have been beaten and battered, and they've really been obliterated, and it makes the crypto space right now feel like a bear market. And we're not in a bear market. Bitcoin is near all-time highs, and I'm going to give you guys my opinion on where and when I do think the top will be in and where the overall market is looking like and projecting to be in the next coming months. And I just really wanted to make this video and talk about my overall thought process on altcoins, because originally I am a Bitcoin maxi. I love Bitcoin. I buy Bitcoin every single day. And then when it gets close to the top, I usually cut off my DCA. But things have changed. Things have changed drastically over the past cycle. We have governments. We have companies. We have potentially government Bitcoin strategic reserve talks happening. And every day it seems like there's legislation after legislation after legislation of companies and states and countries talking about accumulating Bitcoin. So now things have changed a little bit, so I will be buying Bitcoin regardless of the price, but maybe I will limit as we get higher and higher into risk levels, like closer to the top of the bull market. Maybe I'll cut my dollar cost averaging in half, but I still want to hedge because I do think that there is a chance of, dare I say it, a super cycle. I think that's possible, all memes aside, when you bridge that gap between the early adopters and mass adoption. And when you bridge that gap, you will see somewhat of a super cycle in the S-curve model. Now, I want to talk about Bitcoin and altcoins because the only reason why I buy altcoins is to potentially gain more Bitcoin, to build my sats, to stack my sats. And this cycle has been a little different, hasn't it? This cycle has been a little bit different. Not many altcoins have performed well versus Bitcoin. Bitcoin has been making new highs and new highs versus all of the Bitcoin pairings with ETH, with basically all the coins excluding maybe a handful of coins. And those handful of coins that did perform against Bitcoin, a lot of them have came down, excluding literally like maybe Solana and Sui and a couple others, maybe Ripple a little bit. But if you bring it back to previous cycles, well, now it's different. In this cycle, we are seeing so much altcoin dilution that is becoming more and more difficult, and the risk to reward ratio of buying altcoins, making quick profit on altcoins, and then buying, again, funneling that profit into Bitcoin is becoming less and less feasible because, honestly, a lot of bad actors and altcoin dilution, and you may even couple that with the overall macroeconomics of the world right now. So I want to talk about a few things on Bitcoin right now. We are playing with fire right now. We are on a very, very important price level here, trading on this bullish trend line. I really don't want to see us break down below this. I would say that the lowest we could go, my line in the sand, is this blue level, this blue line at $94,400. If we start to see red candle closures below this, I expect that to break down. And I expect altcoins to break down further with it. And many altcoins right now are sitting on very important support levels. I think that if Bitcoin loses support, you're going to see altcoins break down another 50, 60%. And now I really want to make this clear, guys. I'm not bearish on altcoins. I don't think that, oh, Bitcoin's the only thing that you should buy. It's the only thing that you should buy. I think that altcoins, there will be innovative and new currencies that will actually be of use and not just be meme coins. But I do think right now, the way that this space is going, the rug pulls, and basically the constant dilution of altcoins has made it very, very difficult to do that. And like I said, the risk-reward ratio of buying alts versus Bitcoin, I think, is not really panning out the way it should be. And I think that it makes much more sense to just be accumulating Bitcoin versus alts because, well, there's less risk and the reward is higher than buying alts right now. Now, sure, you can buy like $1,000 of a meme coin here and throw literally like a ham sandwich, a value of a ham sandwich at some of these coins and pray that you get a 100x. But that was a viable strategy back in 2017, in 2020 even, when there was only 3,000, 5,000 coins. Guys, today there are 12 million coins. Can you throw a ham sandwich at 12 million coins? I don't think you can. I can't. I would rather buy I would rather buy 12 million ham sandwiches worth of Bitcoin because you could get rugged on all of them. You could lose all that money. And that's what I'm saying. The risk and reward ratio is changing right now. But when you look at some interesting liquidation maps, I know I'm getting a little bit deeper on this video. This is what I do to research Bitcoin and how I research my fundamental analysis for the cryptocurrency space in total. Now, you know, I like to make meme coin videos. I like to make videos about Dogecoin, Pepe, Shiba Inu, and other coins that I think that there maybe be some, there's a good ratio to make more money on that versus Bitcoin. But like I said, this time is a little bit different, guys, and that's why I really want to hone in on some of these charts that I look at on how I analyze Bitcoin. So right now we are looking at the liquidation map, all right? And so basically you see all these levels here, and this is basically the value of, say, when Bitcoin reaches $102,000, there will be $60 million liquidated. And this yellow level is a very, very intriguing zone. So now I'm saying that right now Bitcoin is trading at important support levels, and if it breaks, altcoins are going to come down much further. But right now, the most important liquidation level is $110,000. I do think that there's a higher likelihood that we do come up to 110,000 and we make new all-time highs on Bitcoin before we break down here. And I know that Bitcoin's trading on important support levels because when you look at liquidation maps, this is basically a way to look at where these exchanges can make money, where all these exchanges, these market makers allow you to trade on. This is where they collect your money. This is where they make money. If we get to $110,000 Bitcoin, there will be literally billions of dollars of shorts liquidated. That is money in these exchanges and these market makers' pockets, okay? So I do think that the risk is to the upside, even though we're trading on very important support levels. Now, I must also say, when you're talking about liquidation levels, you're talking about some big boy plays, okay? And in these big boy plays, when you're talking about market makers, they can pull this liquidity. This could be spoofed. This could be fake. This liquidity could be fake. But I will say that I think there's a lot more people shorting right now than they are longing. And I do expect us sitting on the support level to probably be liquidating a lot of shorts here soon. Now, why am I talking about this? Well, when we look at a longer term time frame right now, when you talk about chasing liquidity, down here at $72,000 and $70,000, we are literally talking about $30 billion, $50 billion to be liquidated, okay? Of liquidity that exchanges could get that money. I think that this should be a very important level that you should be looking at when it comes to altcoins and for Bitcoin, because this is a level that the exchanges want to push the Bitcoin price to. Now, will they be able to do it right now? I don't really think so, but I think that in the next bear market, keep your eyes open for this level. I would not be surprised to see this be somewhat of a low. It would be close to past cycle high around $70,000 USD. I would not be surprised to see this be the low of this upcoming bear market. Now, I will say, guys, There is lots of volatility in this market right now when it comes to altcoins and Bitcoin. And if you do want to take advantage of that, check out in the description box below or the pinned comment down below. Sign up to Blowfin. You get a $5,000 sign-in bonus as well as 15% off all trading fees for the lifetime of your account, guys. Take advantage of this because I do expect some big volatility to be playing out very, very soon. Now, the question is that to the upside or to the downside? Well, I think that right now the risk is to the upside unless we lose those very important support levels on Bitcoin, where we're trading at basically right now. If we break below, like I said, this blue line at 94,400, that is kind of my line in the sand. And I will say, hey, we're probably going to be heading lower to maybe even 88,000. And that will change the overall market structure. And I want to talk about the timing of this market as well here shortly, because right now, if you look at this, these blue vertical lines are the halvings. And after the halving, you have about 147 days of consolidation before you see that larger move to the upside. And guys, back here, we had 147 days of this long consolidation, nearly half a year, guys, of sideways chop. We really did have more than that if you were to bring it to over here before the halving. It was nearly 6-7 months of sideways chop. Well, I just want to show you some interesting things here, all right? Some interesting things. And I'm going to tie this into altcoins as well and why I think that everybody should be buying Bitcoin regardless, because I do think that altcoins are going to become harder and more difficult to make more money in versus Bitcoin really for forever from now on, unless there's some significant regulation that comes into meme coins and crypto, which is not what I'm saying I want, but there requires a big fundamental change in the space for me to say that I think that all altcoins will outperform Bitcoin in their pairings. I think that those days it's becoming much more difficult to make more money in alts versus Bitcoin if you were just to buy and hold. You have to get lucky when you're buying altcoins versus Bitcoin now. And that's not how it used to be. So I digress. Let me measure this, all right? So it took 147 days of consolidation before we got into our bull market phase, all right? I want to show you guys, if we measure from the bull market phase to the cycle top of, well, I should say the first cycle top of 2021, okay? How far was that? How far was that into the first phase? We are talking about 28 weeks, okay? 28 weeks once the bull market phase begun after the 147 days. And we should usually have about 411 days after that 147-day consolidation period. So it took 196 days or 28 weeks. Let's measure 28 weeks from where we're at right here, okay? Now we're in the bull phase of 2024, and we're going to measure 28 weeks, okay? I want you guys to see just how close we are to that level. Let me redraw that for you here. I want to show you a really good idea of exactly where we're at here. 28 weeks, okay? We're talking right about there. We are not far off the first cycle peak that we saw in the previous cycle. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to get an exact double top exactly like last cycle, but I will say that this cycle has been a lot of gains front ran pre-halving. We've seen that. That's a little bit different than the past cycles. And now, well, a lot of this was driven by institution money. It was institutional money, and now we're seeing governments get into this. ETFs, we saw a lot of institutional money. I think a lot of this Bitcoin move was institutional driven because I do think that this time around, there's not as much helicopter money. There's quantitative tightening going on instead of quantitative easing. There's no PPE loans to get injected into the stock market. And straight up, the Federal Reserve is selling versus buying, and they're not creating liquidity. They're pulling liquidity out of the market. Now, I will say, so that really puts us at here, we only have potentially a couple more weeks before we could potentially reach this cycle high of the first phase during the bull market. Now, I want to be very transparent here. People like to say that this first peak was the top, even though it wasn't the highest price target. So a lot of people like to say that the second peak here didn't really count, which I think is ridiculous because they say it was pushed up by leverage, blah, 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 blah. But let's measure just for fun, right? This entire window of time to the peak, it's 411 days, okay? Well, let's measure how far, how many more days could we have? How many more weeks? We potentially could have 245 days if this were to play out exactly to the T of last cycle, all right? Now, let's say that does happen. Let's say that does happen. Back at the first peak in 2021, altcoins were flying. Bitcoin dominance was breaking down. We saw massive moves for altcoins. Well, now that's not the case. So we're really closing this window down. This altcoin season window is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Now, sure, are we going to have a super cycle and the 4-year cycles are broken? I'm going to say probably not. I think that we could see Bitcoin make very, very large gains here in the rest of these 411 days or so. But I lean towards the idea that when people start talking about super cycles, usually doesn't happen, guys. It happens every cycle. People talk about like Ethereum flipping Bitcoin, and they talk about a super cycle. When we see Ethereum flipping Bitcoin, no one's even really talking about that now because Ethereum, the canary in the coal mine for altcoin season, has been absolutely obliterated because there's not enough free money floating around. There's so much dilution, and altcoins have not really been the most lucrative trade this cycle. Now, I want to show you something else that's pretty interesting here. This is the total 3, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum and stablecoins, all right? I thought this was pretty fascinating that we're seeing this massive drawdown here. Testing back here. Guys, when you zoom out here, right, just to get an idea of where altcoins are, we peaked out with the success of altcoins. We peaked out in December of 2024 at the same level that we were at in November of 2021 when altcoins were going absolutely insane. There was so much euphoria in the market because all the altcoins are 10x, 20x. Everywhere you look, everything's flying, flying, flying. It doesn't feel the same way anymore, does it, guys? Because there's 12 million freaking altcoins instead of 10,000 or 3,000. This time is different. This time is different, guys. It doesn't feel the same. Bitcoin has become the best trade. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't buy altcoins. I think that you can make a lot of money on altcoins. I bought Solana at $8. I've been taking profit along the way. It got to $270. It outperformed Bitcoin, okay? I made money on Bonk on the Solana chain. I've made good money on alts. But guys, for every one altcoin that outperforms Bitcoin, there is 10,000, maybe even 100,000 altcoins that did not. Altcoins are not a store of value. They are a vehicle, in my opinion, a vehicle to make more Bitcoin. And I think that vehicle is overridden. It is an overcrowded trade. There's too many people on that vehicle. It's weighing it down. I think times have changed a little bit. I just think when I saw this chart and I really looked at this and I said, wow, we are at the same level that we were at the peak of the bull run last cycle. And we've broken down significantly from there. In this yellow line back here, I had this yellow line. I was looking at this level here back when we were chopping around. When we were consolidating for that 6-7 months on Bitcoin. And this was a line in the sand for me. I said, if we break below this, I think altcoins are doomed. I think that there's a chance that the top is in for the cycle, for alts. And I still do believe that if we do come back down here. If we come back down here, boy, oh boy, that is going to be very painful. And I think that it's going to create a lot of Bitcoin maxis. Guys, the most profitable traders in altcoins this cycle, the most profitable players, I'll say, are the people creating the coins. It's not the same as it was last cycle. These people that are creating these coins are just extracting liquidity out of the space. And also this cycle, we have Bitcoin ETFs. When people make money on those ETFs, it's a lot more difficult to take those profits out and deploy it onto the blockchain than it was in previous cycles. It's in the stock market now. Well, I'm gonna sell my IBIT shares for profit, and I'm gonna buy Apple stock instead of buying Ethereum. Ethereum's a bad example, but let's say I'm gonna sell my IBIT shares and buy Apple instead of, I don't know, Bonk, a meme coin. Things are different now, guys. But I do want to just emphasize here that I think that the time frame for altcoins is running out. I think that altcoin season, I should say. I think that we could see an altcoin season happen towards the end of this cycle near Q4 2025. But boy, oh boy, I think that's going to be running it close. And I think that there's a chance that this time is different and we don't see true altcoin season where everything is running because, guys, guess what? We did see altcoin season. We did see it. It just didn't feel the same. And yes, Bitcoin dominance did not break down as much. No, it didn't. But it's pretty fascinating to see that Bitcoin has been basically the best trade over the past 3 years over the majority, I would say 99, maybe even 99.9% of altcoins. And don't get me wrong, I like trading altcoins. I think it's fun. But as an investment strategy, I like to buy Bitcoin every single day because Bitcoin is the backbone of cryptocurrency. There's not going to be competition for Bitcoin because it can't be replicated. It was built in a perfect storm, an anonymous founder, no inflation. Nobody can rug pull it. Maybe if some dormant wallets come out, but I think it's a little bit too late for that. Even if 1 million Bitcoin got dropped on the chain, people would buy it up. People would buy it. I'm going to be buying Bitcoin every single day for the rest of my life. Now, I don't want to come across that I'm saying that your altcoins are not going to succeed. It's all over, because there are some altcoins that will succeed. Like, look back at the .com bubble when you saw everyone was just buying and investing into anything on the internet, anything, because it was a website. And eventually, a lot of those websites got nuked. They went to oblivion. They were nothing. They went to nothing. But today, we have Google, okay? We have many that have stuck around. We have Apple. We have Microsoft. We have companies that stuck around. And I do think there will be crypto companies that are very similar to that. Maybe Ripple, Solana, maybe Ethereum if the Ethereum Foundation can stop dumping their coin. It's a very interesting time in this market as we trade sideways near all-time highs while altcoins are destroyed, and it feels like the market is empty. And it feels like we're in a bear market while Bitcoin is still holding up relatively well. And I just wanted to give you guys my opinion and my thoughts on this overall market and what I am personally doing. I like to trade altcoins, but what I'm always buying is Bitcoin, and all I'm doing with my altcoins is taking profit so I can get more Bitcoin, guys. It is a finite supply. There's no inflation. People can't just create it out of thin air. It's hard money. If you guys like this type of content, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel right now. Let me know in the comments section below what you think about this. Do you think that we're going to have this altcoin season at Q4 2025? Or do you think this time is different and we've already had altcoin season, but it just hasn't felt the same because there's just so many altcoins? Very curious on what you have to say about that. That's all I got. I'll see you in the next one.